Even though the flag bearer model of the Galaxy S series this year is the S20 Ultra, its smaller sibling, the S20 Plus, makes for a much more sensible buy. Well, I have been using one on and off for a few months now, and I would love to help you decide whether to consider getting this phone or look elsewhere. I'm Rohan from TechieTechTech, and here we go. When you hold the S20 Plus in hand, you immediately realize that this is a premium object. The finish and refinement of the materials used and how well they are put together is definitely top notch. We have glossy aluminum sides and a glossy glass back, which does attract fingerprints but looks really good otherwise. The camera bump is somewhat low key for 2020 considering the ginormous camera bumps on the S20 Ultra and the OnePlus 8 Pro. The power and volume buttons are very clicky and on the same side, which makes it easier not to smash the volume rocker by accident when you're meant to press the power button. All in all, when it comes to the build quality, I genuinely think this is one of the best built Android phones right now, and I would even go as far as ranking it above the S20 Ultra simply because of the reasonably sized camera bump and the more ergonomic weight and form factor. Flip the phone over and you are greeted by probably my favorite thing about this phone, that is play. Remember how curved displays used to look really flashy and amazing, but they were functionally terrible as they led to so many accidental touches? Well, Samsung has given the best of both worlds this time around with a somewhat flatter curved display on the entire S20 series. So you have the modern look and feel of a curved display, but the curve is still subtle enough not to touch your palm here and there. The less curved display also makes gripping the phone easier, a problem that I face every day with the OnePlus 8 Pro. As for the raw display quality, I'm not going to say much. It is a Samsung panel, they know their stuff. The colors, the contrast, the saturation, the vibrance, everything is better than the competition. The only caveat that some users might find is the lack of the option to run the full QHD resolution along with the full 120Hz refresh rate. I personally don't mind it, but I can see how Samsung not including it in their flagship phone could be an issue for a lot of people. Let's talk about the performance now. This is an Exynos 990 version of the Galaxy S20 Plus, and in some regions you get the Snapdragon 865, which is supposedly a more powerful and more efficient CPU. I won't get too in depth in that comparison, just that the more power hungry your smartphone usage is, the more difference there is between the two CPUs. As for me, I am a somewhat moderate user who doesn't game a lot, and the Exynos has been great. There have been no stutters, no lags, no frame drops or anything of that sort. I've been getting pretty average battery life though, and while that could be because the Exynos is not the most efficient, I cannot say for sure since the 120Hz refresh rate is a battery hog anyway. But all in all, for most of the users out there, the Exynos processor should not be a big deal. But if you are a gamer, specifically a hardcore smartphone gamer, I would strongly recommend checking the phone out before buying. In my limited gaming experience, this phone does not support the highest graphics settings, and even when it did, it overheats pretty quickly. So basically, if you don't game very much, the Exynos might not be a problem, but if you do, you should rethink your options. OneUI, Samsung's Android skin, is a pleasure to use. It has a lot of amazing features that are actually useful, and while it used to be uncooked, messy bloatware in the past, it's really refined now. The overall look, feel and flow of the UI is more refined than stock Android and yet somehow more user friendly. I don't know what it is, but I've always seen more mature users and transitioning iPhone users prefer OneUI over other Android skins. But regardless of all that, my experience with OneUI has majorly been a positive one. There are shortcomings like the presence of a Samsung service for every Google service and the lack of Google Feed on the home screen, but all in all, OneUI is great and definitely one of my favorite Android skins. Let's talk about the camera now. The S20 Plus sports a quad camera setup on the rear and a 10 megapixel front camera. The rear camera setup includes a 12 megapixel primary shooter, a 64 megapixel telephoto, a 12 megapixel ultrawide and a 0.3 megapixel depth camera module. Samsung Galaxy flagships have been known to deliver excellent performance when it comes to mobile photography, and let's find out how this year's flagship performs in real life. We'll talk about the photos first and then move on to the videos. The 12 megapixel primary camera takes outstanding pictures both indoors and outdoors. It produces stills with a wide dynamic range and rich colors that are pleasing to the eye. It is one of the best primary cameras we have tested so far this year. The S20 Plus has the same ultra-wide angle camera which is present on the more expensive S20 Ultra. Thanks to the larger pixel size on the 12 megapixel sensor, the S20 Plus delivers well-exposed pictures with minimal distortion levels. The telephoto lens sports 64 megapixel sensor and actually has a 1.1x optical zoom. The S20 Plus uses a hybrid zoom to deliver 3x zoomed in stills. To be honest, they are really good in terms of color rendering and stabilization, although the results are not the best in class when it comes to sharpness and details. Switching to portrait mode, the S20 Plus delivers well-exposed portraits with amazing subject separation on both people and objects. The dynamic range and color rendering of portraits are also excellent. The S20 Plus offers a portrait mode that allows you to change the bokeh effects. It also allows you to adjust the bokeh after you have taken the picture, which is something that's not commonly seen in the competition. Flipping to the front camera, the 10 megapixel selfie camera takes fairly decent selfies. The selfies have a wide dynamic range and really good colors. The selfie mode also has a wide mode where it actually takes 10 megapixel pictures and a zoomed in mode where it shoots 6.5 megapixel stills by default. The only caveat I found with the selfies is the lack of details. Night mode performance has improved since the last generation. The S20 Plus takes brighter and sharper stills in different focal lengths. Moving on to the videography, the S20 Plus packs some serious shooting capabilities. Both the front and the rear cameras can shoot up to 4K at 60 fps. And just like the S20 Ultra, the Galaxy S20 Plus can also shoot in 8K at 24 fps. Moreover, Samsung has also improved its manual video mode, which gives more settings and resolutions to play around with for professional videographers. The videos shot outside look absolutely stunning with amazing color rendering and details. The autofocus and OIS performance has improved compared to last year's Galaxy S10 Plus. The low light performance is a bit glitchy as the videos have some noise processing issues. Hopefully, Samsung will fix that with a software update soon. To conclude, the Galaxy S20 Plus has a feature-loaded camera setup which delivers amazing performance from almost all the lenses. It doesn't matter whether you just want to take pictures and videos for sharing on social media or for some more professional purposes. The customizable and feature-rich camera app provides a seamless camera user experience for everyone. Moreover, Samsung has been consistent with updating their flagships with next-generation camera features. Therefore, when it comes to smartphone cameras, you can't really go wrong with the S20 Plus. It's definitely one of the best cameras out there. Moving on to the battery life, this is somewhat of a disappointment. Now I know that you are supposed to let a phone settle down after you set it up so that it can learn your usage patterns and optimize accordingly, and trust me, I did do that, but I still got pretty average endurance from this phone. Long story short, this phone lasts a day with medium to heavy usage, which is basically around 4 hours of SOT. The medium power saving setting does come in handy, but I would still love a 1.5 or even 2 day battery on a Plus model. Thankfully, we do have a super fast charger in the box and support for fast wireless charging, so even if you're running out, a quick 20-30 minute power up will make sure you can get a few more hours of endurance. Let's talk about one of my favorite qualities of this phone and Samsung phones in general, the phone call experience. It has been phenomenal. I've been taking a lot more calls than usual due to the work from home situation, and let me tell you, out of all the phones I have used in the past few months, this has offered the best calling experience, be it the signal retention, the earpiece and loudspeaker quality, or even the overall quality of the whole conversation. The S20 Plus is a phone call champ, and since it is so much lighter than other flagships, holding it next to your ear for longer periods is more comfortable. Before we conclude, I'd also like to talk about the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, which gets a lot of bad rap in the tech community. Yes, it is slower, and yes, it is slightly less accurate, but in my usage, it's not really an issue. Unlike other in-display fingerprint scanners, this one doesn't need you to turn the screen on first, so eventually you develop muscle memory and the experience is great from there on. Let's move to the conclusion now. Should you look at buying the Galaxy S20 Plus right now? In one word, absolutely. In fact, I think this is the Samsung flagship you should consider getting right now. With the Galaxy Note 20 being a disappointment with its plastic back and 60Hz Full HD display, I think the S20 Plus is the only reasonably priced Samsung flagship considering the hefty price tags on the Galaxy S20 Ultra and the Note 20 Ultra. I loved using the S20 Plus as my daily driver and will not have a problem recommending it to most users. Thank you so very much for watching this video. I hope it helped you out, and if it did, please like, share and subscribe. It takes minimum effort from your side but really helps us out. This has been Rohan from TechieTechTech and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.